That's true. Just so that we keep the people inside, and then later we can leave. And then we can go and we introduce everybody in the room. Why don't we ask Daniela to come? So that we have everybody in the room. Oh, here. This is Natalie.
We're live here. We're live here. We are.
Okay, Sebastian?
Give me.
Is it 5:00?
Yeah, I'm okay. We're good, Marika.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. And streaming live from Washington, District of Columbia, USA. My name is Mary Cardonato, and I am the WFTGA Global Brand Ambassador. We are here now at the George Washington University School of Business, where we also have the Master of Science in Tourism, Event Management, and Hospitality. And here to welcome us is the professor of the program, Dr. Shivat Tosun. Dr. Shivat, thank you again for hosting this event at your beautiful space. And we are truly honored from the Guild of Professional Tourist Guides, my colleagues, and the World Federation for giving us this opportunity to have this international conversation with the president of the World Federation. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And I would like to welcome everyone and officially, dear President of World Federation Tourist Guide Association, Honorable Sebastian Frankenberger, his special guest, Marta, and the board of the Guild Professional Tour Guides of Washington, D.C., in particular, President Jim Carr, Vice President John Days, and Treasurer Bart Simmet, and faculty, alumni, in particular, our distinguished alumni, Mary Cardonato, a global ambassador of the World Federation of Tourist Guide Association, members of the World Federation of Tourist Guide Association joining us from around the world on the live stream, industry leaders, students, and distinguished guests. Welcome to the MS in Tourism, Hospitality, and Event Management program at George Washington University School of Business. I'm Sebastian Tosun, the program director of MS in Tourism, Hospitality, and Event Management program, and Eisenhower Chair and the Professor of Tourism Studies and Management. Today, it is an immense pleasure for us to host the president of the World Federation of Tourist Guide Association, Sebastian Frankenberger, to deliver a keynote speech on ethical responsibility of tourist guides in the age of alternative truths and populism. I believe that the topic is very interesting and significant in the age of globalization, digitalization, virtualization, and a lot of things together working well. So as the only graduate program in tourism, hospitality, and event management in the nation capital in Washington, D.C., with over 50 years of history, it is in our DNA to host global leaders of the tourism industry at George Washington University School of Business. And this event is an unmatched opportunity for our internal and external stakeholders and learning community to enlarge their knowledge domain in the area of ethical responsibility of tourist guide. Before I introduce Sebastian Frankenberger to you and invite them invite him to deliver his keynote speech, I would like to thank the World Federation of Tourist Guide Association, the Guild of Professional Tour Guides of Washington, D.C., our distinguished alumni, Maricar Danota, and student, and to organize this meaningful event at George Washington University School of Business. Now, it is my great pleasure to introduce the president of World Federation of Tourist Guide Association, Honorable Sebastian Frankenberger, to you. Welcome again, Mr. President. And Sebastian Frankenberger has been a certified tourist guide in Germany since 2003 and in Australia since 2007. With extensive experience as a trainer, he has been leading training program for guides in both countries for many years. Today, he runs his own training institute, specializing in guide certification and professional development. As a former politician in Germany, known for his dedication to direct democracy and health policy, Sebastian now applies his skills as a consultant and keynote speaker for organizations around the world. Since January 2024, he has proudly served as the president of World Federation of Tourist Guide Association, championing high standards and innovation within the global guiding community. In addition, Sebastian is an expert in staging memorable experiences and has contributed his expertise to various EU projects along the Danube, focusing on spiritual and sustainable tourism. Now, I would cordially invite Honorable Sebastian Frankenberger to deliver his keynote speech. Yes, floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. What an introduction. So thank you, Professor Thorsten, and thanks to the Guild and to Maricar for inviting me to Washington to deliver a speech. Let me go to the right slide. So let me first introduce the WFTGA. Maybe not everybody knows what we are. So we are the World Federation of Tourist Guide Associations. And we say that, or we are the global voice for excellent and professional tourist guide, inspiring cultural exchange, safeguarding heritage, and connecting communities through the power of guided experiences. This is our vision. And we have a mission as well. Our mission is to empower professional tourist guides worldwide through training, accreditation, and advocacy, to foster international collaboration, and to uphold the highest standards of quality, inclusivity, and sustainability in guided tourism. To be honest, this is what we want to decide next year. Because we are in a process, also WFTGA is in a process to renew, to think about it. And we realized we need a vision and a mission statement. This is so important in these times. And this is the first time we are speaking it loud to the public. And next year during our General Assembly in Fukuoka, Japan, 2026, we want to decide that together with all guides. So our association was founded approximately 40 years ago. We have 87 member associations in over 50 countries. There are a few more guides coming, welcome them. And in total, we have 200,000 tourist guides. And our most biggest event is every 2 years, our convention with approximately 400 to 600 guides. And normally I introduce myself or with my background what I have studied, what I've done. Today, it's very important to introduce myself. So when we're talking about ethical topics, it's important to understand what my background is, what my view on this topic is. And I want to give you a quote. Not a quote from that bishop, but a quote from my teacher. I was studying Catholic theology. I want to become a Catholic priest. And during my study time in Rome, one of my teachers was Walter Kasper. He's a German cardinal, and he was teaching different universities in Italy. And he said, after a good sermon, people should go home feeling unsettled, with open questions that inspire them to reflect or make a change. Very important. And I think this bishop did it quite well. So we all had been talking about that, what she was saying. And this is also what I want to talk about. And this speech is a little bit about that. What's the message? For me, this is the most important question. What's the message? This question I'm asking all my clients, all my consulting clients from tourism, DMOs, DMCs. What's your message? What do you want to talk about? What should your guests talk about when they're going home? I want to give you an example. And this speech is a little bit food for the thoughts today. I can't give you answers to all the problems of the world, or in America, or in Germany, or in Austria. We all have a little bit the same problems at the moment, I would say. But I can give you some questions. I'm guiding here. This is the former concentration camp Mauthausen in Austria. Today is a very, very important day for the Jewish community. Today was the liberation of Auschwitz. They freed the Russian troops arrived in Auschwitz today, and they freed all the prisoners there. And Mauthausen was freed a little bit later in April. And when I guide there, I was a student, when I was in high school, I have to go there, and it was terrible. The guide of Mauthausen in the 1990s told us all the horror stories, everything in detail what the Nazis did to the prisoners there. And this was like emotional. I don't want to hear any more stories about that. And we students started to play cards after that and made fun because we had to deal with our emotion. And I took nothing away from this day. It was like a completely blackout. I don't want to remember everything. Oh, it was a very interactive tour, by the way. In the gas chamber, he said, now raise all the arms, now feel that the gas is... It was terrible. And I had a great pleasure. I had a great teacher there when I became a guide. He was from Yad Vashem, from Israel. And he said exactly that. What's the message? What do you want that your clients, your guests go home after they have visited Mauthausen? Should they be just full of fear, of horror stories? Or should they go home and start thinking about something? And we are now focusing our tours on 3 topics mostly. How was it for the prisoners? How was it for the local people around? What did they realize? What have they known? How did they get around with what was happening there? And how had the Nazis been feeling? Or what have the Nazis done? They're crazy stories. But one important thing I realized there is we are focusing on the 3 things. We're asking a lot of questions, very good. But what we are not doing, and also the official audio guide is not doing, we're focusing not on the small good stories. One of the small good stories that happened there, and it's more than present today, because the right person here is a filmmaker from Austria. He produced a movie about Anna Hackel and her family. This is the lady to the left. Her age is 93 now. And this movie was produced in the 1990s. Now they show the movie again. And the movie is about her family because they hide one of the Russian soldiers who escaped. There was a big escape. 400 Russian soldiers escaped. And they called it rabbit hunt, the Nazis there. They tried to get everybody and immediately kill them or did horror stories. And most time we just explain the horror stories, how they caught them and what they did to them. But we are not focusing on the good stories. There was one, from these 400, 5 survived. Because of such a local family. And this family has known if they got caught, the whole family will be killed. But they hide one Russian soldier. And this is, I have another story. The man who helped the Allied troops to arrive earlier in the concentration camp was a Red Cross employee. And he was not allowed to explain the Allied what happened there in the last days, but he did it. The Red Cross fired him later for that because he did not follow the rules, the official. But with that, the Allied troops arrived 4 days early and had not the chance to kill all the 60,000 who had been in a tunnel system, the prisoners, and the Nazis were to explode the tunnel and all that. So he showed humanity. And this is my story, what I'm telling in the concentration camp, the former concentration camp. There is always a chance. It doesn't matter how dark it is. You have a chance to decide what you want to do. And for me, this message is so important. I'm guiding a lot of children there, and then I'm asking, what is it? What can we do to show humanity? What are the real heroes? The sports person, they are doing something great, or are the real heroes the people in our class when they are realizing somebody is bullying, going to the teacher and try to help this man and then bullied from the others? What are our heroes in society? Why aren't we focusing on the good stories? And I like when I get asked questions. I really like when I get asked questions. And when people are going home and reflecting. 2 days ago, I was in San Francisco. I was coming here from Japan and had a night over in San Francisco. It was really nice. I was there and they had these plates everywhere showing the history of San Francisco. And they had been always asking questions like, what are the consequences of using stereotypes? This was the question after they explained there was an expo, and during the expo, the Pacific International Expo, they have shown the different stereotypes of foreign people, of African, of Indian, of Chinese. The fine art temple is still there, the last thing which remained. But every plate they ask questions. And this is what we should do. We should ask questions. The people should go home uncomfortable. And why I'm speaking about this topic, and because it's easy when we have sites like the concentration camp Mauthausen or a World Heritage, UNESCO World Heritage site. It's easy to talk about these sites with ethical things and all that because of sites. There is a history books, there's a lot of stories. There is a lot of education programs for that. The UNESCO has made a program a few years ago. It's called Values-Driven Heritage Interpretation, where they talk all about that, how you should explain it. They have lectures. They cooperate together with Interpret Europe. Very, very good courses, where it's very easy to get more knowledge and to have discussions about that. So this is an easy part, but even not everybody guide in these sites is doing it. The question for me now is, should we implement it in all our daily tours? In all our city tours we are doing? Or what are city tours, walking tours for? Let's come to the question, what's the role of a tourist guide? In everyday life and work. What's the role of a tourist guide? Is it just fun, like here with the children? I'm doing custom guided theater tours as well with a lot of fun. And I'm not talking about all these topics, it's just fun. But what is it what our clients, what our guests are looking for? Do they just want to hear the good things, the good stories? Yes. If they just are going for holiday to have a good spa, to lying at the beach, to go swimming, I would say they don't want to hear other stories. But those who are coming to a walking tour are more open-minded. They want to know something. They want to get into something new. They're open-minded. Okay, sometimes they have to do the tours because the whole class is doing the tour, or it's just MICE tourism. But yes, we can talk with them about topics. I'm speaking this because I know it from some of my cities where I got the education. They said, please never talk about politics and religion. Never, ever. Also my clients, my river cruise clients, never talk about politics, especially when you have American guests. You immediately get problems between Democrats and Republicans. So never, ever talk about politics. You know what the guests want to talk about? Politics, religion, and sex, all the interesting things. Yeah? They want to know, what do we think about Americans? What do we think about Trump? This is always the question. And I'm answering, I'm not allowed to talk about him. And then the discussion is starting. How do we include it in our tours, these talks? With being neutral, with giving not a lecture. It's like that, because this is what most of the people have fear of, that they get another lecture from somebody. How can we discuss it in our tours? These are the questions I'm asking, and I don't have an answer and solution for that. What I know, I have to ask, what are the key components of our tourist guide training? I just can speak about my tourist guide training in Austria, in one of the towns. They have, at the moment, they have erased all the topics about World War II from the guide training. And they say to the guy, please do not talk about that. The guests don't like it. There's fear to talk about these things. It's what I'm realizing, it's a lot of guide associations, they are training on all the history knowledge, especially in Europe, because it's easy. There are so many books about history. And it's easy to have a book where you can read everything. But these topics, this actual life, or what's happening in America, what's happening in Hungary, in Turkey, in everywhere, where do I find this? Where have I books? Where can I read this? Who can I trust? It's so difficult to find knowledge about that. It's much easier to get the old books out and say, oh, this building was built 1250 and blah, 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 blah. It's much easier to talk about these things because I don't have to have an opinion on that. I don't need to go into a discussion. So I ask, what are we doing in our tourist guides training to talk about this discussion things? What do we do to get self-confident about that? What do I do? What do I have to do as tourist guide? Do I have to read the newspaper every day so that I know what's going on in the world? So that I can have discussions? Do I have to have my own opinion? And even when I have my own opinion, it's getting so difficult because we have margins of interpretation. By the way, this is Vienna. So I live in Vienna. And this is the Archduke Charles Monument in Vienna on the Hero Square. On the other side, it's Prince Eugene of Savoy. So this is the Hero Square where we celebrate which wars we have won. So the Prince Eugene is the war against the Muslims, and this is the monument for the war against Napoleon and our victory in Aspern. The French have to immediately say, Aspern, we don't know that there was a victory of the Austrians because the next days your army completely lost against us. Every state every culture has its own interpretation of history. So the Austrians say, this was our victory, this is our hero. The French say, we don't know him. Really, there was? Yeah. And I have chosen a very simple example, not a very difficult one, where it's much more difficult to discuss it. But for me, it's the question about what's the truth? Who can we trust? Who? Now we're coming to the topic with the alternative facts. So books are good. You know, there was a time when journalists have to have 3 sources to make a story public. They have to verify it from 3 sources. Nowadays, journalists generating the source by itself and then quoting their own source, which they have generated an hour before. And then this is the source. Who can we trust? AI. Oh yeah, I love it. I love it. Yes, thank you. AI is the truth. Absolutely. Yeah. So I can show you that it's the absolutely truth. So Abraham Lincoln, he said, I'm a firm believer in people. If given the truth, they can be dependent upon to meet any national crisis. The great point is to bring them the real facts. Oh, that's good. We just need the truth, yeah? And then it would be so simple.
Have I really said that? I think nowadays I would say it different. I still believe in the people, but with alternative facts, social media, and artificial intelligence shaping reality, sometimes wonder if the truth stands a chance, or if we'll all just end up living in an AI-generated simulation like the Matrix. Maybe Elon Musk could build a space-time machine and send a fact-checker back to Honest Abe. Thank you.
Yes, so he needs a fact checker now as well. Oh, this was built in 5 minutes with AI.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Just upload the picture, write the text. That's it. You know how AI will change the future? Oh my gosh, I have to talk at the National Conference of Tourist Guides of America in 3 days about exactly the topic of AI. And we will also talk about how often AI is telling you not the truth, how easily it is. It will get better, but an perspective from an outsider from Europe. Europe is in the moment, we have a lot of fear what's going on in America, by the way. And what we fear is with AI, you know, that there was the decision that AI not longer has to say if it was AI or not, so that Trump and Elon, they want to eliminate all these rules for AI. So who is then training AI? Where is the truth of AI coming from? If some people aren't they now training the AI in their direction, that the alternative facts become the truth of AI? The European Union they have to think about to generate their own AI model. Yeah, because if just one country has an AI model or China an AI model, which is the real AI model where the truth is coming from? Oh my gosh, will be a very interesting world. This is why my conclusion at the AI keynote is, I think books will become more important in the future again. The old books with the old history and knowledge, which was written a few hundred years ago and so on. Yeah? Because you mentioned AI, I want to talk about Elon Musk, because this is also a topic where we tourist guides have to be very critical, or these are typical questions we now get in Europe when we have guests from America. Why has the German museum in Munich taken down or removed the plaque of Elon Musk for his space exhibitions and visionary thinking there? Why? Was it because of what he did there? And they said, no, it was not because of that. This is a completely false discussion, by the way, what that it's a hybris which is generating, and we should slow down all a little bit and discuss it a different way. They have taken it down because he did a speech together with Alice Weidel, which is our right-wing candidate in Germany. We have elections in 1 month. And during that speech, they talked about Adolf Hitler, that Adolf Hitler is more like a communist, completely reframing the history. Hitler sent the communists first into the concentration camp Dachau. He was completely against them. Now they are telling he's a communist, so he's not really a fascist. So please do not put him always to the right side. Completely reframing what's happening there at the moment. And this is why but the question is, should they take him immediately down? Or should we talk about that, what's going on? Here we are now in the cancel culture and all that. How do we talk about all these things? Is it allowed to tell you my opinion here? My point of view? Or should I be more balanced? What I do in my tours very often, I tell my guests, this is what we're discussing in the newspaper. This is what society is thinking. And this is what my view is on it. And please, my background is, I have studied Catholic theology. I was born in Bavaria. I was in politics, so that you know that I am a person who has an opinion. And I want to do something so that they are realizing it and taking out everything as the absolutely truth, what I am speaking for whole Austria. I also have to tell them, oh, there's a different view. Austria, now we have 30% right wings, or who elected the right wings, not right wings, who elected the right wings because of different topics. So I have to give neutral views on things. But it's still very complicated, I think. What I'm missing in with the whole topic, what I'm really, really missing is, who is my moral navigation system in these times? Who is telling me what I should talk about? What's the truth? What is allowed? What not? What direction? I think, isn't that the problem of the world, that we not longer have a moral compass in the world? A long, long time that was the church. But who is still going to the church? Oh, I'm in America. This is another question. But in our country at home, it's like we have still 48% Catholic, but only 3 of them are practicing and going to church every Sunday. And these 3%, you have to ask, are you really believing in that, what the bishop is saying or whatever? So I think also the church has not longer the moral compass with all the scandals they had and all that. What is with our presidents? Are they the moral compass? We have an amazing president in Austria. I can't say his name so often. He's really great, Mr. van der Bellen. He had so hard time. He's trying really his best to be he's thinking about the people. He's speaking what democracy means. He tries really his best. He's so old. He's also 78 now. Yeah, something like that. He's doing an amazing job. This is, for me, one of the most trusted moral leaders we still have. But where are these figures? And it's not only in politics. Where are these figures in university, in society, who stand up, who speak and say the direction? Statue of Pope Pius IX in Santa Maria Maggiore. He said he has the infallibility, the absolute truth. He never can fail. Nobody can say that. Really nobody, that he has the absolutely truth, that he never can fail. Walter Kasper, my teacher, always said to me, Sebastian, the truth is in everything. The truth is in everybody. Even in those who are doing the worst things, the truth is really everywhere. We have to be open-minded to get the truth and never say, I have the truth bought for myself. Oh, it's so complex. what for me is important with the truth when we talk it up now about politics, about our society, how we want to live together, I have put this statue on the screen because with that, a long time for me in the religion, I found this way, this spiritual way, especially in the Bible with one important sentence. It was the golden rule. Do unto others what you want to do others unto yourself. This was for me the one direction, which is the most important thing. And when we talk about what ethical guiding should mean, we first have to make kind of a contract which we all can sign. What is ethic? What is this one rule we all can sign? Is it exactly that, what's written in the Bible? So what's the foundation of social coexistence that we can all agree upon? Because if we can't agree on one basic line, it will be very difficult to talk about ethics. What is it? Thank you. And how have the human rights been founded? Why? Because we had the Third Reich. And this is Chancellor Adolf Hitler in front of Hindenburg. Hindenburg was in that time the president, and Hitler was elected. And Hitler was very friendly in this time to Hindenburg, saying he will not do anything against the people, he will not use the rights. And a few months later, on the basic of the law, he changed everything in Germany. A very dangerous situation. And a lot of people stood up, but they didn't believe in him. And sometimes we can compare it what's happening nowadays at the moment. But after that, and I would say this is what we all can agree on, we never ever want to have the same what happened in the Third Reich. Can we agree on that? It's a question. When you ask my father, who already died, he would say, it was not everything so bad with Hitler. Huh? He said, oh, remember, these Americans, they bombed Dresden the last days. He immediately was saying that when we talked about Hitler and that. And the other thing was, he built so many highways and everybody had a job. Yes, that's true. Everybody had a job. But Father, you're not allowed to say that without mentioning that he killed a lot of Jews, a few millions, by the way. So are we sure we never ever want to have this again? This is what the whole world said, yes, we never want to have this again. And this is why the human rights had been signed. Yeah. And for me, the universal human rights, the Declaration of the Human Rights, is one of the most important things. And this would be the baseline for every discussion. And I'm not sure that at the moment, this is the baseline for the discussion. I have put here a few paragraphs, just a few, which I would love to discuss with some of your politicians at the moment. And especially with some of the billionaires behind all that, because I don't think that they would agree on that. They think there's a difference, yeah? So that we are all equal. Religion, sex, language, nationality. That we all have this from the birth status on. It's going furthermore. I don't want to go too deep inside that. Yeah, but it's, for me, the absolutely starting point from the discussion. And we agree on that. Oh, you really have to read the human rights again and say, a little bit the problem is nobody really has signed that. So That had been a lot of states who signed them, but you can't take any country to the court when they are not fulfilling the human rights. This is a little bit the problem. So this is not like a constitution we have. In Germany, we have built our constitution mostly on that. So we have, in Germany, we have a very, very strict law on all these things. And if something happened, you can immediately go there. You can elect your government directly. Everybody has access to public service in their country, and. I'm seeing so many problems what's going on in the world. The problem is, what I'm thinking is that we no longer agree on that, on the human rights. And our society is dividing. Our society is really dividing because so many people have fear. We all know this. So many have people fear and so on. How can we bring the society together again? And I think we tourist guides can have a big role on that, bringing the people together again. Because when people are traveling, when they are open-minded, when they are interested in new things, we can be those who tell them a little bit a new side. We don't have to teach them, but we can give comments. We can speak about topics which nobody else is allowed to speak for them because they are in their bubble. They're in their social media network bubbles. They don't get other opinions. But when they are traveling, they're getting another opinion from us. And they are seeing sights and they're seeing things. So I think this is why we tourist guides, we have this chance. The question for me is it just a chance what we can do? Or is it our duty we have to do to help? For me, this is also hope. We tourist guides have a big chance at the moment to talk about things. This is what I can do. Sure, I can elect the right people. This is the one thing. But even then, it's in the moment what's going on. But this is what I can do if I do not want to go into politics again. I can do in my tours, help a little bit to bring the society together again, to take down borders. And I think we spoke also already about what's going on in the world. Why is it going so wide? Why is it so dividing? Because we have another revolution like we had it in the Industrial Revolution 150 years ago. It's the same happening. We have some who lost everything, who cannot longer follow. We have the same also in our association. We lose people at the moment because the digitalization is going so quick forward. AI will be an amazing transformation. We can't believe what AI will transform in the next years. This will be one of the biggest change ever in the history of the humans. AI will be completely transforming us. And the people don't understand that. What we can do in our tours, what I'm doing very often, I have to explain my guests how they can use technology in the tours. This is a small part, but they are so happy when I have explained them a little bit how the digital world works. How they can Google something, how they can use the functions. These are the small things where I have the chance, if I have a small group, if I have not 45 people behind me. So we have to talk about how big the tours should be. How many packs in your tours? What's the maximum? How are the tours designed? We tourist guides have so many chances. But for all of that, first, I need a good mindset. I think this is one of the most important things that we begin. What's our mindset as tourist guide? What do I really want to do? I'm guiding so many Republicans. Sorry, I have to say that on the river cruises. If I have the mindset, I don't want to talk to you because you have elected this president. The same, I have to guide politicians, or I have to guide people who have elected our right-wing candidate, who's a big fan of Hitler and all that. Sorry, I have to say it. He's completely right. How have you elected? If I'm going into that with this mindset, sorry, I'm blocked. But if I go into that with the mindset, I believe that in everybody is part of the truth. And that everybody is doing the best. He can't do it better. He has not a better knowledge. He is in his bubble. He does not know. I have a chance to be completely, I meet this person with any judge, completely judgeless. I meet this person completely open-minded. You're good how you are. Yes, maybe you've what you have elected or whatever, it's difficult. But let's talk about it. No, I do not say let's talk about what you have elected, not. No, that I just show you around here. I'm just friendly to everybody. I know a lot of guides are saying, I'm not longer guiding these people. I do not want to get in touch with them. And there are big discussions. Should we invite right-wing populists to national television shows? In Germany, we have this discussion at the moment. Are they allowed to speak during in front of the voting? Should they be allowed to discuss with the others their opinions? I would say yes, but you need a very good moderator who asks the right questions. Oh my God, but I'm as a tourist guide, I have a duty to ask also these questions. But I need a knowledge for that. I need the right mindset. I need so much more. So I'm coming to summarize a little bit because I want to have a discussion with you. What's really the role of our tourist guides? For me, I have just put 4 points, but we can go into deeper. Yes, we are ethical moderators at the moment. And we should challenge alternative truth and populist narratives with balanced perspectives. Very important is balanced perspectives. But I have to have the knowledge and all about that. So, or better, first, it's on the next slide. I have to have the right mindset for all that. This is the beginning of if I want to go in, yeah, as an ethical moderator, I first have to have the right mindset. And if I have the right mindset, how do I get all that? And I would say knowledge and education is so important. This is, when I was a politician, this was always the end of all my speeches. We can only change the world with more knowledge, with a better education. This is so important. This is why it's so important to have a regulation or even a licensing for guides. Not that everybody can become a guide, that we really have a good training program and not only about knowledge and not only about guiding skills. We now need much, much more. And one very important point is for me, we need more collaboration. We have to work more together. There are so many good associations outside doing something. And sometimes I have the feeling that we tourist guide association look only to our own and try sometimes not to want to collaborate with others. This is why I have a call to action for our associations at the end. Rethink the training. What to include, how to go forward. Foster collaboration with partners. Interpret Europe would be an amazing good partner. Also this discussion with tour guide, tourist guide, tour manager. Oh my God, there are so many discussions about that. Why can't we just work all together on this bigger topic? And with all the differences we have, yes, we have to know these differences, but please work more together. And identify where our ego complexity hinders progress. And this is really, I address this to our association. It's so complex. We have so many egos. We have so many, who is getting into which position. And this completely hinders our progress to get forward. To think about what's really important at the moment. And yes, I would say we guides have a duty to do. We have the chance to change something in the society. This is also my hope I'm doing. And let's go back to the human rights. Eleanor Roosevelt said, where after all do universal human rights begin? In small places, close to home. So close and so small that they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have little meaning anywhere. So that means we can start in our association, in our home, in my private life, we can start to be ethical, correct, how we treat our guests, our clients, our partners. We can start there. We can start with our peace in ourselves. Peace is, we are very often called the peace ambassadors. As tourist guides, we bring peace to the people because of traveling and exploring the culture and all that. 21st February will be the International Tourist Guide, and we have said we take the same theme this year for our International Day. I know there are a lot of local themes the Guide Association choose, but we as World Federation have chosen the UN theme, which is peace. And really, for me, peace starts in ourselves. And peace is for me when we start not judging others, not judging ourselves. And this is what my conclusion is. Yes, we have a duty, but the first duty is to start in ourselves, in our local communities, and then stand up, go outside. What's the message? What do you want to talk about? Think about what's your message. I so often hear, I'm just telling all the facts. I'm just telling all what's there. What's the message? I want to have a discussion on all that. And later I give you one last word, but I want to conclude now with, what's your message? What is your message? What do you want to talk in your tours? Let's discuss it. Why are you a tourist guide? What do you want that your clients, your guests, your school children, your students tell at home when they're coming home? What should they start thinking about? We do not have to talk about the bigger topics, what's going on in the world. Let us not distract from these populists, what's going on at the moment. I have so many discussions about that. No, let's start with that. What's your message? This is what I want to discuss with you now. What is your message in your next tour you're giving? Ha! I see the first one who wants to talk about that. Ha! Here is the microphone.
I guess Siobhan can share it. Right?
Yes. Oh, sorry, one moment. They can't hear you, so they're saying now.
Test.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Good afternoon, everybody. And, just to collaborate about the discussion, what's your message? That has been, led me thinking last year. Last year was like, what's my message as a tour guide, as a company that drives thousands of people in Washington, D.C.? What's my message as a company? So I found a drive that collaborates and connects to our values as a company, as a person that I am, because everything is born and everything, the vision of how I guide, it's with my values, with my morals, and everything borns from that. So my message is that now it is more than a tour. It is a journey that inspires. It's an inspiration that I want to show, and I want my guests to take it away from their experience in Washington, D.C. It's the inspirational part. So it's not just a tour, it's a journey that inspires.
I'm checking what the chat is saying. So some said, I want to have good reviews. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. It is a great discussion. so far, based on my own experience, I taught courses. I have been professor and researcher in 4 different continents: China, Europe, Middle East, and US. You ask a very critical question. And the message I will give to my student, the message I will give to visitor, all depends where I'm located. Geography is destiny.
Yes.
And I would ask a question: what is the difference between tour guide and journalist? Do they face the same risk of talking freely? And yeah, so the message I'm giving to the participant, and the message you want to give all depends where you're located. And some location create more fear. Unfortunately, in order to inspire your guest, your visitor, you should have a complete freedom. And the fear is stopping our creativity and innovation. And my question, how we can remove the fear in our mind. Thank you.
Good.
Hi, my name is Ella Shirelli, and leveraging that remark about place,
Yeah.
I'm guiding here in Washington, D.C., right? The nation's capital. So I begin every tour with the basic question to my guests: what is the promise of America? What is the promise?
Yeah.
And then I said, if I asked it a different way, what is the pledge of America? If I have students, do we say the Pledge of America? Pledge of Allegiance? And we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. Liberty and justice for all. And all means all. And we'll discover it's more of a journey than a destination. But if we can agree on values of liberty and justice, then we have a framework for discussion. We can wrestle with alternative views. We can deal with facts, truths, and we can inspire. And many, many times, a guest will say to me at the end of the tour, Marikar's always talking to us about what do we want our guests to leave with? Do you want them to give you money, save the environment? Guest said to me, you've reminded me what it means to be an American. And these are new Americans, right? Because everyone says the pledge. And so for me, that has been a grounding way of addressing these tough issues and dealing with different points of view by setting the stage immediately on the values that are important to Americans.
Bravo. And once again, for me, it's easier to talk in Washington about these topics because you're the capital. It's easier for me to talk in Mauthausen about these topics. What's the message of, let's say you're a guide in New York. What are you talking about there in New York? Are you including these topics? Are you excluding these topics? What is in Europe? You have so many history to talk about. You need at least 2 hours for just for the history. What are you including? Anybody else?
How about Bart?
I'm Bart Smith. I'm a Washington, D.C. tour guide. I'm proud of it. And I get to talk to a lot of international visitors. And one of the things I talk to them about is, who's an American? Who's an American? Look around the table. You know, who's an American? And I go back to our founding of our country. We were founded by diverse by diverse populations, from Puritans in the north to the penal colony of Georgia in the south. And we had to build a constitution. We had to build institutions and a process that we could deal with diversity. And we have always had diversity. And I say, you think we have immigration problems? What about the American Indians? Those people had a real immigration problem. All the Europeans showed up, and look what happened with them. But excellent point. But we through the institutions we set up and those things that we put in stone with that people can see at the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. And I tell them, I don't know about Thomas Jefferson the man, but look at Thomas Jefferson's ideas that he gave us and that are still there. And I take them to the Martin Luther King and show them the 14 quotations. I don't have to tell them what to think. What your point. I lead them and say, we're Americans, which is, we don't have like Europeans. We can't say, oh, this has been our land for ever since the Romans were here. You know, we all just sort of showed up. So our commonality, what an American is, what an American stands for, is our values. And here's the values that we have chipped in stone. You figure it out from there.
Thank you. Viola Lewis, I just want to give you, the chat is really full online, so they're really discussing a lot. Viola Lewis, our head of training, said, should we have a message? Or should we open people's hearts and minds toward important things for humanity? The other topics are we entertainers or teachers? And as teachers, we learn from everyone if we listen and ask. Interesting discussions are going on. I think we have to discuss more. This is something, when do we have the chance to discuss these topics? What are we really doing in our tours? Where can we learn from each other? I'm so happy that we have associations where we are coming together. And I want to encourage all associations, open it to discussions about what we are doing in the tours. Not only teaching, more discussions, more best practice sharing, more learning from each other, more talking about our daily work. I'm realizing so often that we just have lectures, we just have another training. We are all also in my bubble as a tourist guide. You're always alone working. You not have so many colleagues with you around. You see them at the meetings here, but the rest of the time you're alone. We have to help more each other to discuss more the things here.
One of the things that I learned.
You need the microphone, please.
And very impactful.
Hold on, sure. The screen cannot lift. You need the microphone.
Well, one of the things in my life journey that I learned and really impacted me by learning not just the universal human rights, but something that was quoted there. It was, my rights ends where your rights begins. And I think that will lead us to understand barriers of, we have freedom of speech, but at the same time, we cannot insult the other person. You know, we have freedom to own a property, a house, but that doesn't mean that we can tear our neighbor's peaceful life. So it is like, you know, the rights of the other person, it's valid as well. So I think by us tourist guides being mindful of where we are and what role are we playing in our tours will lead us with a inspirational message that we want our guests to take away from us. It is being aware what are we doing. It's our different conversations is in our home with my brother than leading people to their experience. So
yeah, I think we slowly have to close the meeting here. But what I want to do with the online participants, I want to give them the chance to talk. We have a few, see Christina here from the Expo, Vice President. Nice to meet you, Christina and Viola. I want to open the floor to all the online participants. They can talk with each other. So they only had the possibility to chat with each other. So we open the floors now to you. Viola, I give you the co-host ability in a few seconds. But before I close, I want to invite you all to the next big opportunity to discuss all these things. And this opportunity will be in 1 year. In 1 year, when we meet all hopefully together in Japan. And in Japan, we have our, conference. I was coming right now from Japan. I had a site inspection with Viola in Japan. We've been 1 week there, which was amazing what we have seen. And our theme will be sustainable tourism. So this is a topic also of sustainable tourism. We will have workshops there, lectures there. We will have a post tour, which is going to Nagasaki. And we are trying to get somebody from the association who won the Nobel Prize for their peace engagements. And we will talk about what does peace mean for us, especially for us tourist guides. And it will be an interesting discussion. I already mentioned to some that I also want a discussion. What I'm realizing when we should have an impact when we are going with a convention to a country, to a city. And the impact was already when we had a discussion with the local chief of the convention center. I said, what are you doing for that our food will be sustainable? It should look good. And so I said, no. So we want to have regional, seasonal products, organic produced. They cost 30% more. Okay, let's talk about that. Or how can we save the money? What do we have to exclude? But let's start about thinking these things, not only talking, really start thinking what we can do. In Nagasaki, maybe we have to start thinking about what's the experience in the museum. It was very good, but they had completely no word saying about what the Japanese role was during World War II. How can you talk about the atomic bombing and everything what happened there without talking about how Japan was involved in World War II? Do we have to include it or not? I want to address these topics when we are coming there. So what's our message as of WFTGA when we are going somewhere, when we're doing a convention? We should not be longer quiet and just have nice meetings. We really should talk about the things. Yeah. And this is the first draft of the official invitation video, especially for you. To invite you to WFTGA. Sustainable tourism. We want to talk about that during lectures and workshops, ensure also about the latest state-of-the-art guiding best practice experiences, our training, and from TITG have prepared an amazing program. The pre-tour will go to the countryside, and maybe we have an answer. The post-tour will go to Nagasaki, where we will talk about peace, because we guys are often called the peace ambassador. guide gathering is always so much fun. It's like a family meeting. So we will have dancing and in Japan, sure, karaoke. So please register convention.wftga.org and see you next year, February 2026, Fukuoka, Japan. So who is coming?
Yeah.
Oh, everybody's coming from this room. So the registration has not started now. So it's just for you, yeah, so that you have to wait a little bit. I think we are ready end of April. End of April, we are ready. But I can tell you so many people want to come. So register quick. You have to be quick. Use the first weeks to register because we have a limitation. Because this is also sustainability, to make a limitation. What can a place, how many visitors can come to a place and all that. But it will be a really forward-going and forward-thinking convention. I have to say thank you for being here, for having discussions with me. I want to hand over to Jim for the closing. And here I hand over to Viola for the final talks or whatever you want to do. Thank you for spontaneously coming in, Viola. No, we are just doing our closing here. And
okay, so I'm Jim Carr, the president of the local Guild of Professional Tour Guides of Washington, D.C., and I'm here with my colleague and partner in crime, John Days, our outstanding first VP, and Bart Smith, our treasurer, who makes sure that our finances are always in order. And I do have one question. What do you anticipate, Sebastian, will be the outer limit of the maximum number who can attend the conference? Because I know there's quite a lot of interest by people in the United States, and you'll see that at FTGA in Philly.
600.
600, okay.
So we are planning for 600, the main conference, and the pre and post tour for 250.
Okay.
But we are also have an alternative plan if we will, because we are thinking that the pre and post tour, how often do you get to Japan? Yeah, so I think a lot of people will book the whole experience, because the whole experience, the pre and post tour will not just be fun. I told you, like Nagasaki, that will be also a study tour where we really discuss things. This is the new forward way with our conventions. This should have also an impact on us, all of the things we are doing there. So we're also thinking about to include more, but yes, 600 will be the biggest main. So everybody of you can come.
Thank you. Yeah. So one of the things you mentioned, which is really at the very top of my priorities, is collaboration. So I am super big on working with other organizations, with people with differing viewpoints to find some commonalities and move forward in a way that's satisfying and rewarding to everyone. So collaboration. I'll be talking a little bit more about that at NFTJ in Philadelphia. John?
I'm John Days, Vice President of the Guild of Professional Tour Guides of Washington, D.C. I want to thank you, Sebastian, for bringing your topic to us here in Washington, D.C. You know, we are a city with 500 politicians on the Hill, all of whom have a vested interest of telling their own story, whether it's true or not. I was surprised. All of my life, I've been trained to feel that there were differing views on various subjects. But I think it was about 8 years ago when I heard the people at the top of the government talking about, well, there are alternative facts. I'd never heard of alternative facts. I didn't think there was such a thing. But I think that we're going to move into an area where we are going to have to think more about other people having alternative facts and how we as tour guides are going to deal with explaining situations in a world of alternative facts. So I appreciate your presentation tonight. And I think that we will certainly take it to our local guides to have some very, very serious discussions about this, because I can foresee that over the next few years, we're going to be dealing very seriously with this topic. Thank you. Thank you.
So we say from our side, bye-bye to the online people. So we will now close our stream to you, but you have the chance to discuss. Viola, maybe we want to do breakout rooms. Feel free. Bye-bye. See you in Japan.
See you in Japan.
Hello, everybody. Oh, let me see if I can see everybody put on gallery view. Ah, wow, so many of you. Sarah, our area representative. I can see Christina, our vice president. I can see Deborah Andrews, our president emeritus. You're in Washington yourself, aren't you, Deborah? Excellent. So I'm actually at the moment in Manila, and I got up at 5:30 to come to this session. But it was well worth it, wasn't it? So over to you. I don't want to talk all the time. Are we inspired? Are we changing our roles? Food for thought.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, I think, because I don't know whether you also learned in your first trainings as a guide that you should not engage in political discussions and not talk about religions and things like that, what Sebastian also mentioned. And I think I myself have started like 4 or 5 years ago to question that rule. I think since I'm guiding in the former concentration camp of Neuengamme, and since I've started with a lot of World War II tours and Jewish heritage, so since that time I actually engage a lot more, and I try to be prepared as well, because that is, I think, one of the cornerstones of really doing that. Because if you're not confident in the topic, it's quite difficult to challenge people's minds. So I would say when I started tourist guiding, I think I wouldn't have dared to do that, because I would have been too young, I think, and too unexperienced. So trying to get along with all the facts I wanted to give, and then not also giving, or discuss on other things. But now I think I'm confident enough to do that. And I actually, nowadays, I prefer those tours next to or over the ones like the highlights and just glitter, glitter, blinky, blinky, and just the holiday tours, because I think it's really something where I can inspire people, open their minds and their hearts, as you wrote, Viola. So I think that has changed a lot in my everyday life, at least.
Wow, yeah, and that takes courage, doesn't it, to really put yourself out there and work with the responses. How do you work with the responses from people? Anybody?
Well, most
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just for me, I mean, I also talk about my family history, actually, nowadays. I didn't do that earlier. And many people are really, really happy, because they wouldn't dare on their own asking the guide about what did your parents, I mean, by the way, for those who don't know me, I'm from Germany. So most people wouldn't dare to ask a German, like, what did your parents or your grandparents do in World War II? So I take that from the beginning in order for not giving them the difficulty to ask. And many thank that quite a lot, because otherwise maybe they don't have contact to Germans or have never been to Germany before. And so that's something which is appreciated.
Yeah. Wow, and that is another thing I learned. Never talk about your personal lives either. But of course, and it's always a thin line. Talk about, anecdotes where they are relevant. And of course, never talk about politics and religion, but, still included, we integrated somehow with our basis of human values or the human rights. I always call it human values, but human rights actually, it's good to reread the Declaration of Human Rights again, because that are the human values. I need to remind myself. I see Emma, you've got your hand up. Emma, another one of our area reps. Please come in. Where are you? You're in New York, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm coming in actually from in my kitchen in New Jersey. I'm home I work from home on Mondays. So no, I just wanted to say, it's such a good point that Sarah made. A lot comes when you're more experienced as a guide, and when you're an older as a person too. You find your voice, you find what's important to you. You've grown as a person, and you know what your values are. You understand your moral compass. And I think one thing, and I know that when I'm helping people with training, when I'm teaching people how to write new tours, things like that, I said, find your passion and find what you really like to talk about. And that goes right into talking about difficult subjects. If you're passionate about it, but you have the facts to back up your passion, that can help. I forgot who said it, to help to change hearts and minds. We may not get everyone to see, or make everybody, convert to your point of view, but at least they can be open-minded, and they can see if it's something that means a lot to you. You can often convey that kind of sense of meaning and sense of importance to you, to your guests too. So if they may not agree with you, they might still take a moment to say, all right, I see your side of the story, and maybe I'll think about my side of the story in a different way. So, but that does take a lot of experience. It takes a lot of courage, and it takes having those strong facts and the knowledge behind you. And Sarah, I really like what you said about your bringing your own personal experience. I'm speaking in the United States. I'm talking about Ellis Island all the time, and I talk about the immigrant experience because my family is a family of immigrants. My husband is an immigrant, and so I can relate to it in another way. So immigrants, it's always a hot topic, and people have very negative views sometimes of immigrants. And so I don't bring that up, but I say, think of what your family did, how they came to the United States, where they come from, and maybe get people to empathize a little bit more with other people who may be in a similar situation today and who are looked down upon today. So there's always a chance to open hearts and minds. And that's why we guide. I think that ultimately that's why we do it. So thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Yeah, yeah. And you're absolutely right. We don't want to kind of change people's minds or opinions, that's not the right way of putting it. We want really people to know why, if they want to change their mind, why they are doing it. So it's sometimes like sowing seeds, and they will mature, and hopefully, over time, that will be a deep-rooted human value or human belief. So yes. Who else can I see? I can see a lot of trainers and area representatives, Smaro Tulupa, trainer, and Patricia. But Deborah, yes, Deborah, please come in. You're muted, Deborah.
Okay, there.
No.
Hello, everyone from Washington.
Yay! Hi, Deborah.
Hi. I've been fascinated with this discussion. I have to say, it's just really engaging, and such a variety of opinions and points of view, and starting points as guides. But I'm just wondering, what would we want from our teachers? Do we want their opinions? Do we want their personal experiences, or do we want them to present the facts in an engaging manner that pulls us into a story and educates us? And it seems to me that's the basis of guiding. I'm in the old school. Sex, politics, and religion are definitely not topics because it's all about opinion. My opinion of politics is, and that's not, I think, our role. But anyway, that's what I wanted to add. I'm a big believer in guiding is also storytelling. And if you can thread things together like a story, a string of beads, then in the end, or a mosaic that makes a picture at the end. And I think, Viola, you've seen the peace mosaic in Cyprus. that tells a story. It's little pieces put together to tell a story. It seems to me that that's a common basis of guiding whatever country you're in. That's it.
Well, yeah, what would we be without peace? Yeah. I see Paul. Paul, you were the one who had all those wonderful comments in the chat. You want to come in?
I just borrowed from Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, I'm Paul, permanent tourist in DC. And people don't want to be clobbered or challenged with facts that disturb their worldview. And that's what Deborah said is absolutely right. That I can tell a story that can lead. And I know as a teacher and I'm still a bit of an activist, it is better to be interrogative, asking questions, like they say, rather than didactic, blah, 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 dates, facts, people, history. I don't want people to fall asleep on my tour. I don't want people to think, well, maybe I should go look up something else. That often doesn't happen. Maybe sometimes it does. But I do start my tours with Jefferson, who held more slaves. What? You're talking about slavery? That's politics. Oh, no. Well, yes, that's what I do. And then I have them read out loud Martin Luther King and FDR. I like to do that. I like to get more of their neural systems going, to read the quotations. FDR and MLK have great quotations that advise we're passing through history now. And then I like to have them and I like to read with them the second inaugural address, the last paragraph, and both sides read from the Saved Bible, all that kind of stuff. Who knows? I feel like sometimes I'm gesturing to the void, but I know I get good tips and good ratings sometimes, but I try not to be too much of I hold my tongue more. I've taken some very, very right-wing people, and they didn't know that I was really secretly a communist, pinko Democrat. And it's okay. And that's to me following the ethics of the Guild of Professional Tour Guides. But maybe I raised a question that they might want to think about later or look up something more later. Maybe not. Okay, I'm lowering my hand and shutting up. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks for coming in. And, that's a real art that people don't really know at the end what your opinions are. They might know what your values are. But very briefly before I hand over to Christina, I'm a tourist guide in Scotland, actually, although I'm originally from Germany, but a tourist guide in Scotland, like Joan, my colleague from Scotland, I can see her as well. Anyway, we had our referendum to decide whether Scotland should become an independent nation a couple of years ago. And it was a very divisive issue, not only internationally, but within the country as well. And you probably know the decision in the end was very, very tight. And it was always kind of my aim then at the time, yes, to present both sides of the argument and for our visitors to go away at the end of the tour, being really informed about the subject, but not knowing what my opinion actually is. They were pushing me and pressing me, and I hope, and some through the way I describe the values and the benefits of either or, of both actually. I hope they got a lot of food for thought and understood the whole issue better. So that was an interesting time, and we are still in interesting times. But enough from me. Christina, thanks for being with us. Over to you.
Yes, not at all. I am very thankful for you all for bringing this topic to the floor, and especially to our president, Sebastian, because it's a difficult topic, and a little bit like Sarah, because of my long experience as a guide. I've been a guide for 43 years. The last 10 years, I've understood that if you're guiding, I'm from Portugal, and I guide a lot in Lisbon, which, by the way, in 1551, 10% of the population were slaves. And some years ago, I decided to bring that one topic into my speech as well. Why not incorporate it? It's part of our heritage, for the worst and the best. I mean, the history of a place is not only made of beautiful stories. There's also a black side to it, but you can incorporate it into your speech without causing too much trouble into your listener. Actually, you can read the signs, you can read the body language, and if I understand they are uncomfortable with it, I stop. But I started incorporating that, and of course also the fact, because my grandmother, she fled from Austria in 1938. They came from Linz. They were brought down. She was a teenager girl, so that one experience is also important. But again, you can incorporate it little by little into your speech and make people aware of these topics. Try to read their body language and see if they are okay with it or not. That's very important. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Christina. Yeah, Christina, our vice president. So we had our president, Sebastian, speaking, and Christina, our vice president. Yes, and WFTGA, I'm really glad we have this opportunity to talk to colleagues and to navigate together through this turbulent and changing times. Yeah, just filling the time again, talking about slavery in Glasgow, where I'm based and where I'm guiding, there's a lot going on in terms of, they call it legacies of empire and slavery. And that in itself is a big discussion. Should we just do away with all the kind of history as it was presented just now and replace it? Or what should we do with it? So the museum, one of the museums, they've actually put next to the labels which were put up, I think 15 years ago, of the objects, they have added red labels which tell the story of the object from, with the perspective and input from the legacies of empire and slavery. So that is really quite, watching, as Christina said, watching people, what are those red labels? And then there are sometimes gruesome stories and, black sides of the history. And having both together is, a good talking point as well. So we have quite a responsibility. And one of my teachers always said, having little facts or little truths is a very dangerous thing, because we need, well, we can't have the full truth. That's again what our physics teacher, I think, said, there is no absolute or full truth, but every story has at least two sides. So the more we know, the more we read, and, books, yes, the old books, but then we also have to understand when they were written, why they were written, and they give us the jigsaws to build the picture of the truth. And I'm actually from East Germany, so I grew up in East Germany, in a communist country. And oh my God, yeah, let's not go to the comparisons that were made in the talk. Another thing I remember from my education was one of my teachers said, always remember why people, or what people, always remember who is telling you what they're saying and why they are telling you. What is their kind of frame, their perspective, and background of reason. So of course we come to propaganda. So, and that is something we as tourist guide must avoid. And I sometimes fall into the trap of, because I feel so passionate about the environment, one of the things, so climate crisis is another one of the big challenges we are facing. And I have to hold myself back. Viola, don't preach. This is not helping, but help people to come with you to understand, and also bring in, I think Emma mentioned storytelling, so important, and many of you, but it's becoming a story sharing now as well. I think Sebastian touched on that too, to allow our visitors to give them time and place to tell their stories as well. And we might be surprised, but of us in the chat as well as teachers, to listen and learn from our visitors. And that will enrich our future commentaries and our future tours as well. So it's, I love my profession. Here we go. I'm talking too much. Anybody else?
No, we like to listen to you, Viola. You're very inspiring.
Oh, wow. Coming from you, Christina, that's a big, big compliment. Thank you. But dear colleagues, we don't have to kind of prolong the discussion or the session. It was really an opportunity to, and I'm glad Sebastian gave us this opportunity, because sometimes when you're so inspired, you need to talk, like coming out of a good movie or out of a good film, you want to, have someone to talk about it. So it's nice to have this forum here. But maybe it's also now a time for reflection, for us to go away and individually for a while think, reflect, and then come back for our next session. And International Tourist Guide Day, wow, that is, again, where I'm really, really passionate, because peace, our topic this year, our theme this year, our need this year. There's nothing, if you don't have peace, we don't have anything else. So come back for International Tourist Guide Day. Okay. Yeah.
Viola, thank you. You're a wonderful, what am I trying to say? You're wonderful.
Oh, Deborah. Well, you are wonderful.
You've done such a nice job. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Always, always.
No, you're one of my big mentors, and you're like other presidents emeritus as well. So, yes, we are a great family. Thank you.
Yes, we are. The World Federation is a family, and it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And let's stick together in these bad times.
Look forward to seeing you all in Japan.
Looking forward.
Come on, I've got a paper crane somewhere.
Bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little paper crane from Japan. He wants origami paper crane, so we will, learn how to make them in Japan. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.